What's up, everybody? Thanks for checking in with Callie. Please like, subscribe if you haven't. So, Kawhi Leonard, after the game against the Timberwolves, where they lost by 21, 121, 100, he said that they've been winning off of talent more so than chemistry. And he said in his post game after the game or whatever. But when you think about what Kawhi Leonard said and really break it down, he's exactly right. Because when you think about they haven't been together that long, they've been together for, a few months, and they really figured out a lot in a very short amount of time. But it doesn't mean they're not good enough to figure out, who they can be and how deadly they can be long term. And that's what Kawhi Leonard said in his post game. We could be scary once we really figure out, the little things and really build the chemistry to its highest, because they're not even there yet. And the crazy thing is, with them not even being there, they still won like 27 out of their last 32 or 33 games, which is overly impressive. And I know a lot of Timberwolves fans are happy because, they did get the dub. They did get the win. You know what I'm saying? So you got to, give them credit there. And, hey, rightfully so. Y'all earned that victory. No doubt about it. I mean, you played well. You had multiple players in double figures. And, it looked like, for the Clippers' sake, that they really couldn't, stop anything in that third quarter. The third quarter, I mean, the Timberwolves scored like 40 points in that third quarter. And the Clippers only scored like 19 or 20. And that really can't happen. So, I mean, it's like when you think about it from a defensive standpoint, the Clippers really have not much answers for all their big. The Timberwolves present a challenge to a lot of teams because they're so big, they're so long, and they're younger. You know what I'm saying? That makes a lot of difference, too. You got McDaniels, he's long, Nas Reed, Ant-Man, you got Karl-Anthony Towns, and you got Rudy Gobert in the paint, you know what I'm saying? A former defensive player of the year. So, I mean, you have a lot of pieces that are like really huge, and that might really deter the Clippers a little bit, which is the reason why the Clippers and Ty Lue decides to think that only way to counteract that is to play small ball. And, to a degree, he's right, because small ball can counteract it only if you're hitting those shots, only if you're making those shots. And the question is, are those shots going to go in a 7-game series to help you win that series? That's the question. Regular season, you're not really too worried because you play them a few times here and there. You see what's what, and you figure out how you can counteract that and, what they're doing and what they do well. And I don't know if the Clippers really have much to counteract it besides a small ball, because honestly, when I looked at the game last night myself, all three big men for the Clippers, they played all of them. I know Zubac's on a minutes restriction, but Zubac can't step out to that 3-point line. And see, that's the problem that really hurts them. When Karl-Anthony Towns decides to shoot, which he does a lot of that, and not really play with his back to the basket. Sometimes he'll play with his back to the basket, or a lot of times he'll be on the perimeter and kind of mix it up. Zubac can't do nothing with that. He can't guard on the perimeter. So, I mean, it really puts him out of contention. Tice could do a little bit. I think maybe he should have started actually in a game like that. Not saying it would have made much difference, but it could have, simply because, he can stretch the floor and shoot a little bit more, give them a little bit difference of attack in regards to scoring. So, I mean, maybe that would have helped, but I'm not sure. And then Plumlee, he can't really defend from the perimeter as well. So it's like when you think about the Clippers big men, they're really kind of like, maybe I'm not going to say useless compared to what the Timberwolves have, but they really don't match up well to what the Timberwolves have. Because if it's Rudy Gobert, most people are going to take Rudy Gobert over Zubac and or any one of their big men, maybe, any one of their big men, honestly, because, he's been a defensive player of the year and he can make an impact on the game just because he can stand there and be a rim protector. You see what I'm saying? And then, like I said, the three guys they have, they can move their feet a little. I'm not big on Zubac moving his feet, but I mean, like I said, if Cat comes off the perimeter and goes to the basket and attack, he can go around Plumlee. He can go around Daniel Tice. He can go around Zubac. You see what I'm saying? With Ant-Man, you know what I'm saying? And then, like I said, even Kyle Anderson, I believe, he's lengthy and tall. So it's like their whole system is built off big players and tall, lengthy players, which is going to make them hard to really attack in a 7-game series. But of course, with the Clippers having the claw, there's a very possibility they can find a way to do it, and especially when Kawhi is in playoff mode. We all know playoff Kawhi can really turn on the switch that those other players don't have. And the thing that really will separate the Clippers if they have to play this team in a 7-game series is their experience, because they have X amount of experience being in the playoffs, knowing what those moments are like. And the only thing is they have to be able to depend on one another to play with that experience and play it out fully so they can actually give themselves a chance to win. Because we all know, Paul George and, well, specifically James Harden, they've been known to really choke in playoff series in the past. And I'm not saying it's going to happen now because, like I said, I think Kawhi kind of will shift the momentum from them choking because they don't have to have so much onus on them. But at the same time, anything can still happen. So it's like you got to kind of be wary of that. So my main thing is I don't believe that's going to happen. I'm just saying that they're going to need all four of them to really, especially, even with Westbrook, they're going to need all four of them to really chip in at a high level to beat a team like Minnesota, because that size, that length will just bother you in a 7-game series, and it could wear you down, offensively, trying to just, bully them and move them around and, try to, be physical with them. It's just, that physicality can wear you down in a 7-game series. So while I still think the Clippers have a chance, and while I still think the Clippers can beat the Timberwolves, that might be one of their biggest challenges, simply because the X factor will be Karl Anthony Towns. What big man is going to be guarding him, and who's going to switch off and rotate on him? Because if he decides to play with his back to the basket, he can pretty much kill any one of the Clippers big men. They don't really have an answer for him. And if he decides to go out to the 3-point line, who's going to rotate? You see what I'm saying? He could be like the X factor or the wild card within that 7-game series, where it can really make the difference, for the Timberwolves. So it's like the Clippers going to really have to figure some things out. And of course, what Kawhi said, based upon the chemistry, they haven't figured out everything, but I mean, they will figure out more. And, Personally, I don't believe Norman Powell have a 5 or 6 point game like he had going forward playing a team like that. He did come off an injury. If Norman Powell plays the way he usually does with 16, 17 off the bench, I think that game is a whole lot different. And I think that the contribution from everybody is going to have to be very high, as I said, if they do play this Timberwolves team, because this Timberwolves team, they really do present a challenge for a lot of teams, not just the Clippers. Because remember, before the Clippers had the number 1 seed about a week ago, the Timberwolves were the number 1 seed throughout most of the season. Between them and it was Denver at first, and then OKC, then the Clippers. So it's like, but the Timberwolves had the number 1 seed earlier this season, so they've been a problem for a lot of teams with their length and everything. So the Clippers are going to really have to get back in the lab and get back to the basics and really figure out, how they can attack teams, because sometimes the small ball just isn't really the way, because like I said, the small ball works when the jump shot is falling, when you're hitting your threes and you're scoring at a high clip and you're making those big men come out to the perimeter where you can go around them, you're good. But like I said, in order for them to do that, you're going to have to be hitting shots at a high clip. And like I said, there's nights where you look at somebody like Paul George, he'll have a 35-point night, and then the next night he'll have like a 14, 15-point night. See, that can't happen when you're trying to play small ball in a 7-game series. It needs to be consistency. So if Paul George has a 30-point night, game 1 of the series, hypothetically, if they played, he'd have to have at least about a 25 or the 24-point night the second game. You see what I'm saying? It can't be in the teens, because it's like that's going to counteract what you're trying to do against them, in which they got more size and they got more youth. So it's like that can't happen, especially with older players. Even though I still think, Kawhi and them is still in their prime, good enough to win and still all those things, but you still have to take that into account. So I think the Clippers will figure it out. I think I wouldn't say it's a wake up call for the Clippers or anything like that. Like I said, Timberwolves fans, they're going to gloat a little bit, but I mean, we all know when it comes to the playoffs, Kawhi is going to be more locked in. The Clippers will be more locked in, I believe. And like I said, the experience they have with all them in the playoffs, a lot of the other players on the Timberwolves don't have that experience, and they're not that savvy when it comes to playing and balancing your energy and knowing how to make it through a 7-game series. Whereas like a team like the Timberwolves, with all the youth that they have, they're just going to go all out and give you everything they have the first few games in the series, and they might wear down as the series go along, where it might give the Clippers the advantage. That's the difference between players who have have experience and players who really are inexperienced. So it's like when you think about that, the Clippers still have a great chance. I still think the Clippers can beat anybody in the West. I still think the Clippers are the best team in the West because, like I said, and like Kawhi Leonard said, they've been winning off of talent. Well, if that's the truth, then winning 27 out of 32 or 33 games off of talent is very impressive when you don't have any chemistry. So, I mean, with that being said, when they build chemistry, well, hey, it could be championship.